brown chicken, brown cow. Hey, listeners, this is Dennis Wisco, your host of the Wisco Weekly podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Kelly Cruz. Kelly, what's going down?
It's a good day here in Southern California.
It's a warm day.
It is warm outside.
This is definitely not winter anymore. And it's never really been winter,
yeah,
actually,
right.
this year.
Not busting out sweaters or scarves anytime soon.
Well, listeners, this is going to be a kind of a one-off episode here. Ever since we've launched season 2, there have been some requests and questions that have been coming at me. And so I wanted the chance to actually answer those questions on air here. And so Kelly's going to help me out as we answer these questions here. So Kelly, you want to start off?
Sure. So our first question here is from Patty in Aliso Viejo. And her question is, I'm looking for a reliable, inexpensive car for my 2 new employees. End of non-question.
Yeah, was that the question?
That's the question.
It's more of a statement, no?
Do you know of any reliable, inexpensive cars that I may buy for my 2 new employees?
Thank you. Okay, I can answer that. Well, I guess first off, reliable, inexpensive. I mean, in terms of inexpensive, that's always going to be a matter of subjectivity. Reliable, certainly when you're looking at some cars and used cars, keep in mind a few things. One is try to look at the maintenance, and the maintenance when it comes to its past, its present, and its future. So you can look at things like a Carfax report to consider its past. If you want to look at its present, especially if it's at a dealership, usually they have something called an RO or a repair order, which shows you what a dealership did to the car when they took that car in. If you're not at a dealership, you can always get a car inspected independently by a mechanic by doing you just ask for a PPI, which is a pre-purchase inspection. So usually that can run anywhere from $60 to like $200. You can actually even get a mobile PPI inspection. And then lastly, look at what the maintenance would be for the future of that car. So one of the more souring notes whenever you buy a used car anywhere is you really never take into account what items may need to be fixed upon getting the car. So usually an item or a few items that end up costing quite a bit are the brake pads, the rotors, and the tires. So if you do get a PPI, be sure to get that inspected and understand what the measurements are on that car. And if you do all that, then usually you can find yourself a good, reliable car after that. So does that answer that question, Kel? Do you think she'll be satisfied?
I think so, unless you want to talk about kind of types of cars to look for, but I guess that could get into a whole other conversation.
Yeah, plus I don't know who her employees are. So.
Right.
We're going to take a call. We have somebody who's going to, who'd like us to call him. So give us a moment here.
Hello?
Hi, is this Chris?
Yes, this is Chris.
Hey, Chris, this is Dennis and Kelly from the Wisco Weekly podcast. How are you, man?
I'm doing well.
Hey there, Chris.
Hi.
Hey, Chris, what's your question?
Yeah, so I'm looking to lease a new vehicle probably in the next 30 to 90 days. But before I do that, I need to sell my current vehicle. I know I could take my car to a service like CarMax, but I guess my issue is I likely wouldn't. I would have to sell it for substantially less than what it's worth. So I wanted to ask, what would you recommend I do to sell my car as quickly as possible, but for the most amount of money?
You sound like a dealer. Are you a dealer?
I am not a dealer.
Do you have your car listed now, or are you planning to list your car at all?
No, I do not have my car listed as of the moment.
Okay, so you're looking, you want to lease a car in the next, you said 30 to 60 or 60 to 90?
30 to 90 days, in the next month or two.
So in the next month or two.
As far as...
Yeah, and so then, what car is it that you're looking to sell?
It is a Audi A6.
What year?
2012.
2012 Audi A6. How many miles?
It's about 66,000 now.
Okay. And so what you're trying to time then properly is the ability to sell your car and time it in such a way that you can sell the car quickly, make the most money, and then eventually get into this new car. Do I understand your question correctly?
That is correct.
So I think what is going to be always difficult when you try to sell your car private party, and especially when you're under the gun, if you will, it's, the used car market right now is pretty flooded. And so for a 2012 Audi A6 with 66,000 miles on there, I'm going to say that that's probably going to be somewhat of a challenging car to sell. That's probably going to be a car that's going to be in the like 20,000 mile range. And so usually you're going to have to find a buyer, you're going to have to try to find a cash buyer, which is to find a cash buyer for a $20,000 car is always fairly a difficult task to do, again, in a short period of time. So the best thing, anytime you're looking to sell your car private party and you're looking to, get the most amount for it, you definitely want to invest a lot of time in the preparation of getting your car ready. So that means taking pictures. That means writing up a very good description. That means gathering up all the history of the car, maintenance records, modifications, things of that nature, because you can certainly go through any one of those third-party sites like AutoTrader, Cars.com, Car Gurus, and post your car, and anybody can do that. But then it's really then about trying to differentiate your car amongst the rest of the competition. So you want to spend the time to do the preparation of getting your car ready to be listed. And then as people are submitting leads and calling in, then, you got to get back to them as soon as possible. And that's really kind of the best way to sell it as quickly as possible in this kind of market condition. So hopefully that helps you there, Chris. Kel, what else do we have here?
All right, next we have Darcy from Southold, New York. Thanks for listening.
Oh, yay.
Her
Hello,
question.
Southold. Where is Southold?
I have not heard of Southold.
Okay.
I'll have to look that one up on a map. Her question or comment: Hi, just wondering if you have shipped a car cross country. If so, who, what did you use? What was the cost, etc.?
I have shipped cars. I shipped one car cross country, but definitely, to Nevada, to Oregon, to a few other states. So when shipping a car, in terms of who to use, the company that rings a bell that I've always used before has been ARA Transport, and there's a couple key things to just keep in mind when you're looking to transport a car. One is you can transport a car as what they call an open carry or an enclosed carry. An open carry is just, imagine a car is just getting onto a flatbed of a truck. And so it's fully exposed to the conditions of weather. Now, granted, if you're in a spring or summertime, then you probably don't have too much to be worried about. But if your car is being transported through states that would, have hail or, perhaps, well, I guess even during the summer, let's say if the road is not fully paved and there can be some rock chips that could spring up and mark the vehicle, those are some of the downsides if you do an open carry, but that is the cheaper way to do it. You can also do an enclosed carry, which that's just where your car is fully enclosed now in a truck, and you really are protecting that car for any damages that may incur when that car is en route. In terms of cost, I want to say if you go cross country, you're probably looking anywhere from $2,500, give or take. And that would be for an open carry. So I think if you go, and definitely if you go enclosed carry, it'll be more. A couple other things you want to keep in mind. If you are either transporting a car, and let's say it's your own car too, maybe you're just relocating to the other side of the country, you do want to make sure that the gas on the car is as low as possible. I did encounter one time where a transport company, or specifically this company, ARA, told me that, there's too much gas in that car, and we basically had to siphon out some of that gas so as to make it as light as possible. And then the third thing is, whoever you end up choosing for transporting, just make sure they're insured. There's quite a lot of transport companies out there that are not insured, and they kind of just do it just to make a buck or two. But certainly you want to make sure you do get a transport company that is insured. So yeah.
One more little tip. If you're relocating and you haven't already done so, ask your employer to pay for the travel or transport of your car.
That's why she's shrewd. All right. What else do we have, Cal?
Next, we have Yasmin from Orange County, California, local here. She says, so I am a horrible car parker, I feel you, and have a few dings and scratches and a tiny crack that needs some repair. Do you have an affordable person with a magic touch? My lease is up in a couple months.
So she has some minor damages to her car, and she wants to get it fixed because her lease is up. Do I understand that correctly?
Yes. So it sounds like, number one, who can fix it, do a good job, and the main concern being if you're turning back in a car that you're going to get dinged, pun intended, for the scratches. This is why you have me on the show.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think, well, first off, I think before, what is her name? Yasmin?
Yeah, Yasmin.
Before Yasmin, you look to do you spend any money to get these dings and dents fixed on your car, knowing the fact that this car is leased. If you're able to, continue on with your lease up until the point that either you take your car to the dealership and maybe they inspect it, and maybe they may find out that those dings and dents are part of what's considered normal wear and tear, so that therefore you're not responsible, or you don't have to pay for that. You can wait for that. The other thing is, you can always get whoever you've leased. Does it say who she leased the car through?
It does not.
So I guess depending on who you've leased the car through, usually you can always get a third-party inspection by a company that the manufacturer supports, or that is partners with. So, for instance, a lot of times as you're getting down to the last 90 days of your lease, they'll send you, the leasing company may send you information about getting a third-party inspection done, and it's that third-party inspection which will then detail for you what fixes need to happen to the car in order that you do not get, as Kelly says, dinged on paying for that car. So that's what I would advise to you. It sounds like you're a meticulous and particular person, but if you can hold out, then you can save a few $100s.
Ready for the next money saving tip? If you're going to get into a new car, you may want to check whether if you turn it back into the dealership that you already leased from, if you're getting another car from them, or even turning it into another dealership, they may be a little bit more lenient depending on the extent of the damages on the car.
Shrewd. I like it. That's very true. I mean, again, especially if you're going back to the same dealership, of course they're going to want your business. You're already an existing customer, so a lot of times dealerships will kind of, they'll be a bit more open to the idea of forgiveness, if you will.
Yeah.
All right. Who else do we have?
Let's see. Next we have Diana, all the way from Merrimack, New Hampshire.
Wow.
How cold it is there right now. She says, looking for advice on an eco-friendly family car that would fit 5 with room for storage. Any advice or things to keep in mind when looking at green cars? For electric cars, do you need to have a special outlet installed in your home for charging? And what is the process and cost?
Okay, well, wow. In terms of eco-friendly cars for 5 passengers, this is an area that the automotive industry and the manufacturers are, I wouldn't say they're behind, but it's, this is a tougher balance to find great gas mileage, and also a big car that you can fit 5 people in, as well as storage for 5 people. Certainly, one of the cars that probably comes to mind, and this is really the pinnacle of a fuel efficient SUV. That's the Tesla. The Tesla SUV. Oh my God, I'm drawing a blank. It's the Model X. That's what it is. And so now, if you didn't want to spend, 80 grand, 90 grand, up to 150, 160 grand on the Model X. Other alternatives, you'd have to start going into plug-in hybrids. There's not going to be so many full electric vehicle SUVs out in the market. I could probably think of the one that I can think of that comes to mind is actually maybe the RAV4. And you will need a charger, and usually you can get away with just using your normal outlet at home, although that does take a little bit longer. A lot of times the manufacturers want you to purchase this kind of a huge additional power outlet that allows you to charge your car in a much shorter time. And so that does require additional installation, but all that is pretty much streamlined from the manufacturer. But in terms of other cars you can look at, I guess depends on your price range, but I know, I'm a big fan of the BMW X5 plug-in hybrid, and Mercedes also has a GLE, I believe, hybrid, plug-in hybrid. But after that, you can also start to look at, I believe it's what is it? The Buick Acadia, I think, has a plug-in hybrid. So those would be options for you. But I would also advise you that, again, as you start looking at these SUVs, you're not going to find their gas mileage so impressive. And especially all of a sudden you're going to see things like the gas mileage on a plug-in hybrid is 50 miles to the gallon, but you're going to notice that that number's skewed because they're incorporating what the gas mileage is when the car is just in electric mode. And then that electric mode, you can only drive like 10 miles, 20 miles until the gas kicks in. So I hope that answers your question, Diana.
Thanks, Dennis. That's from Diana.
All right, we're going to take a call here. We have Monty.
Hello?
Hi, is this Monty?
Yeah, speaking.
Monty, this is Dennis and Kelly from the Wisco Weekly podcast. How are you doing?
Oh, doing great. How are you guys doing?
Very good.
Doing well.
So, Monty, I'm calling you. You're in La Quinta, as I understand.
Yes.
Where is La Quinta?
La Quinta's out like in the Palm Springs area.
Oh, okay.
Right across from Coachella, the music festival.
Oh, okay. All right. That's all you had to say. Monty, how can we help you out?
Well, hi. Thanks for the call. So this is my question for you. I'm heading out of the country on sabbatical at the end of March, early April, and I have a car now that I'm looking to sell. I'd like to keep it as long as I can up to that point. So I was considering CarMax. Not sure what they'll give me for it, but maybe this is something you can help me out with. I have a 2008 four-door BMW M3. It's in pretty great condition, and so that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out is CarMax the best way to do it, or if someone like yourself could help me sell it and get a little bit more money for it.
So if I understand the trick of this is you're trying to sell this at the time that you're leaving or could you?
My travels. Yeah, that's
Sabbatical,
ideally. I'd like this. Yeah, ideally, I like to sell it as close to when I'm leaving as possible. I know that's probably not super realistic, but I mean that's ideal because I need to use the car, or I like to have the ability to use the car up to, or at least close to, when I'm going to be leaving.
And you have a 2008 M3. How many miles?
So it's about 81,000 miles. So it's pretty low for the year. It's a four-door. It's black. It's fully loaded. It has everything in it. So that's the scenario. That's
okay.
That's kind of what my question was for you guys.
And do you have the car posted now, Monty?
No, I haven't done anything with it. I haven't even taken this to CarMax to see what they'll give me. I just I basically have almost 2 months, so 2 months is about when I'm going to leave, maybe a little earlier. So I had a little bit of time. I guess I probably should start doing something now, but.
Okay. Well, this is awfully similar to the other call that we just made, and the other gentleman who is also looking to sell his car. What is it about people looking to sell their cars right now?
Yeah, I guess it's just that time. Well, you said the market was flooded, right?
Well, the market right now and for used cars is definitely flooded. Monty has one advantage going for him, and that is he has an enthusiast car. So an M3 is definitely a car that's more attractive than the previous caller, than the Audi A6. So now again, the tough thing is just anytime that you're selling the car private party, that car could sell in a week after you posted it. It can sell 6 months after you posted it. But definitely, the one thing you have going for you, Monty, is the fact that you have an M3. It's a 2008, and was 81,000 miles. So it's a little bit up there in miles. I guess it all depends on how well you've kept that car. How well you've kept that car in shape. Definitely, I would look to maybe some of the auto enthusiast forums, because it is an enthusiast type car, this may be a great car for another enthusiast to essentially take over and then perhaps do any modifications. Actually, I should ask him if he did any modifications to the car. If he did, that again, now you've really narrowed down who your buyer is. If he has not done any modifications to it, then you've certainly opened yourself up to more enthusiasts looking at that car. So I hope that helps there. Let's take another question here, Cal. We'll take a last question.
Sure. Our next question from Lori in Dana Point, California. Should be enjoying some nice weather as we are. She says, know of someone selling a good car with low miles locally. My car is just too expensive and old to just keep putting money into it.
Well, locally, that guy, Chris, Chris was from San Clemente. I don't know if you'd be interested in an Audi A6. That was 66,000 miles. So I don't know what you define as low miles. But I mean, Lori, if you're trying to just, it sounds like you're looking for guidance on just where to start, because otherwise I would like to hear some more specific questions. So, in terms of where you can find a good car with low miles locally, a popular area that I often see a lot of people now just, trying to avoid the hassle of going through your third-party sites to prepare a description, to get a Carfax ready, and all that stuff, is people are posting to Facebook. So if you're not immediately a part of like your local neighborhood Facebook group or your city Facebook group, join that. Maybe put out a post yourself that you're interested, and then I will see people post their own cars. Unfortunately, because Facebook is not specifically for posting cars, you're not going to get the most detailed of information. But certainly that is a great area where you can just find cars locally, just by going to your local Facebook group. Yep. Any 2 cents on that, Cal?
I don't know about it's money saving tip, but I don't. What about looking at local dealerships and just on their inventory to at least get an idea of what's out there? But if it's low miles, and you're probably not gonna, it's gonna be a little bit higher price too.
Yeah, sure, absolutely, of course. Yeah, you can always go to the dealership. Yeah. Okay. Well, good. Thank you all for your questions, and we'll do this again here, and we'll let you all know. Of course, you can always look to write us on Facebook or Twitter, Wisco Weekly Pod. Check us out every Tuesdays and Thursdays. And Kel, signing off. Until next time.
Signing off. Look forward to next time.
Cheers to the customer experience.